Role of trust in real estate.
Role of trust in real estate is
Let's
really
start there.
important. Obviously, people say all the time, this is the biggest investment you're ever going to make. It may or may not be, but it always surprises me how many people will just blindly trust the first agent, or when people trust me and I'm like, "Wait, you're not supposed to trust me yet." Like, I appreciate that, but you're not supposed to trust me yet. Like, let's
Hmm.
build a really Have you ever had a client say like, "I didn't read the contract you sent me, I just signed it?"
I'm working with clients right now that every single thing I recommend, they're like, thumbs up, awesome, sounds good. And they are, of course, my favorite type of people to work with. Just on the way here, I was texting them and wanted to do an adjustment on something. They're down. We're getting ready to list a couple of awesome properties of theirs, but from the beginning, it's been nothing but like we trust your lead and go for it basically, which is so refreshing. Um,
Why hire somebody if you're not going to listen to what they have to say? Why spend the money on them?
right. But I'm curious why you think like people shouldn't trust you up front. Like, why do you think you need to earn that
Right off
trust?
the bat,
Yeah.
because I feel trust is something that, I mean, as much as I love humanity and want to trust everybody around me, I think trust should be somewhat earned, and I always find it admirable when people can live life um very, I guess, optimistic like that, like the best outcome is going to happen, and just kind of that blind trust. And again, I appreciate it, and I feel almost honored in being in that position
Yes.
that, we hired you, we don't really know you. Maybe they came as a referral.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously a lot of my business is like referral based, but um yeah, just like hopping on board and being like, all right, Lauren, I'm on this bandwagon, and reciprocally like listening to them and trusting them and their needs
Okay.
um is important. But I feel like I know all that, they don't. So coming in with blind trust is just something that fascinates me, I guess.
Well, I think that can work to a disadvantage at times. Like I was just mentioning, looking at like we can talk about later, just the role of emotions in our roles in our work and with clients. But from the jump, like excitability going into a new listing, a new relationship with a client, like starting to work with them and just being like pedal to the metal, let's go without maybe taking the time to go over and what is important. And I wonder how you do this, but like these are the things that we can expect. This is the way to avoid something that may become an obstacle that doesn't need to from the beginning. Like what does the beginning of your relationship look like with new clients? Do you like walk them through potential
Buyer versus
situations?
seller. Which one?
Let's say sellers to start.
Oh
It
man.
was the
I mean,
introductory.
because of doing this for so long, I try to make sure like a balance of here's all of our possible outcomes.
Okay.
Like let's uh make a crystal ball and like get a vantage point into what's your perfect scenario.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if we can achieve that scenario, but here's some kind of trails we could trail off on
Okay.
along the way.
Mhm.
Also, here's some obstacles we can hit without being entirely overwhelming, because people, as much as I'm like, well, this could happen and this can happen, and it just seems like a normal day in my life,
Yeah.
that's really overwhelming to people. So I try to kind of do the bare minimum, but along the way, make sure I'm transparent on what could happen.
Yeah.
I think that isn't spelled out enough for people. Like, this could happen if you do this, or and sometimes it's overwhelming and they get a little fearful. So you need to not be an alarmist while also being transparent on, you're taking some risk if you do this or if you don't do this.
But being
Um,
informative.
yeah, but also, to a fault sometimes. Now, I wouldn't say to a fault. Yeah, I guess it would be to to a fault if it's not that I'm like talking them out of a sale, because it's not what I care about, but sometimes I'm talking them out of something they do want because I've made them aware of something they weren't aware of before, like new fear unlocked.
Okay, but that really goes to the point of you're acting in the best interest of your client
Right.
regardless. Like, okay, and like we talked about last time, like I want to help you get this sale, transaction, whatever done, but at the same time, just being informative so that they're well aware and then it doesn't come back. Like, I feel like that's something that you've shown me from the beginning. Like, you wanna make sure that you are setting them up to anticipate the realities, versus just blind, like, "Okay, let's go get them. It's all gonna be great." Ideally, it is. Obviously, we're gonna
That's the
work
hope.
hard, to make sure, like, on the front end, they're not as aware of all the stuff that's going on back here,
Yeah.
but just maintaining an honest relationship too, while also balancing not being like,
Then they always come
"Blah, blah,
back.
blah." Yeah.
Well, unless something really bad happens, but it's usually outside of our control and we're blamed for it anyway.
You think so?
Yeah, we are the easy target. Something happens with the attorneys, it's our fault. If something happens with the lender, it's our fault, especially if we recommended those people.
Yeah.
Our fault, which I'm fine being, and I'm fine being the target. I'm like, take it all out of me. But then we also, I think, do a good job of hiding what, might be a challenge that they don't need to know about. Like, it's important to be transparent on things that involve their decisions, but
Right.
also taking care of issues. They don't need to be stressed out with the fact that something is happening on the back end that hopefully we can resolve without them even having to know.
Whatever the drama might
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Things you do to get the deal done.
Mhm. And keeping everything kosher and as seamless as possible.
Any good stories related to that?
Um, I'm trying to think of things that I wanna even bring up right now because I have, like, nothing that's, like, sexy or cool, just more, like,
Yes, we do.
annoying,
So many things.
where it's like, those are the type of things that I'm just like, "Okay, we'll take care of it." Wow, a ton of interest on whatever, but it's
I mean, have
no.
you shown up at a final walkthrough, things aren't out of the house, the seller says, "Oh, well, too bad." They won't give a credit and you want it to close, so you go back and fill your car up with things just to get it out of there so everything can move
Wow.
forward. You haven't done that? See?
No. You filled up all of the things that they left behind? I
I
don't my
mean,
car can't really fit that much stuff.
I mean,
Tires,
I
a
wasn't
lot of
happy
tires.
about it. Oh my god.
I've had tires almost kill a deal actually, day of closing.
I mean, trauma. Yeah, when I see tires at a showing and I know we're at an inspection, we've gone under contract, I'm like, I may as well just write that right into the
There
peanuts
you
so
go.
that we aren't dealing with this at the final walkthrough. Those are hard things to get rid of. TVs, electronics,
I'm trying to
paint
think of
cans.
cause the last few closings, it was like every single one, the the offer said, "As is." Basically, as is, no inspection, accepting the property in this condition. And then by the time it was final walkthrough and closing, it was 15 items, this is an issue, we want to credit, bringing an inspector to the second final walkthrough
Yep.
for like a I don't know what the credit even was, multiple thousands of dollars when in the contract it showed as is on page 8, signed. So it's a lot of that where I just feel like, I don't know. I mean, it goes back to just educating your clients,
Yeah.
you know, and trying to be like realistic with we're all on the same team. I feel like
Well,
that's just like the biggest emphasis, um, all of the time.
we talked about that last time, right? That's what can do
Yes.
to closing, being successful, understanding everybody's perception, and then making that perception hopefully a reality at the end.
So then what about when you're like on both sides of a deal?
Oh my god, I hate it.
You do?
I honestly hate it. And agents that do dual agency a lot, I'm kind of like, how are you doing that stress free? Yeah, I had a seller recently that she just did not want to deal. She's an older lady. She lives by herself, and she's just like, I do not want to deal with listing this. Please bring me somebody off market. Which I'm like, okay, it's a rarity. Um, and I was shocked because, the area her house was in, the type of house her house was, seemed like easy, but I'm like, I don't have anybody right now. Well, of course, a week or two later, you get a call from somebody who's, going to be a new buyer. And I'm like, well, at the time that Sonny Mae grant, the DPAL Plus, had come back around. And so I had this buyer and I was like, I want to show you this house. I know we just met. And I don't like pushing my listing on you. I don't want you to think like I'm pushing you into my listing so I can sell it. I said, but I have a seller who really doesn't want to list, at least right now.
Mhm.
So we have an opportunity to see it. You wouldn't have to compete. You're not the strongest buyer. You're putting only a few percent down anyways,
Mhm.
and chances are you want to do an inspection. So I'm like, this is a great opportunity for you because you wouldn't be competing. You'd have the chance to do an inspection. Oh yeah, and there's this $30,000 grant that you could be taking advantage of. So it's kind of a win-win. At least we should look no pressure, right?
Okay.
And we went out the first day and we saw two other houses. Didn't like the first one, didn't like the second one, and the second one was very similar to the one I was about to show her. That was my listing. And I'm like, "Oh, if you don't like this, you're probably not gonna like it, but this is good. It's all a learning opportunity. I'm gonna learn about what you like. Let's go see it and we'll wrap the day up." They loved it. They wanted to buy it. Um, we did the home inspection and there was an issue that they wanted to negotiate. And I'm middleman, right? In dual agency, we have to still act honestly and fairly, even if we can't provide every other fiduciary duty.
Mhm.
Um, and the the seller agreed to it, but then, in the process of signing the PINA, the seller changed her mind. Well, this got complicated because an old home inspector got involved in the negotiations. And I know, so weird. Like, who are you? Home inspectors shouldn't be involved in negotiations at all.
You
Now,
shoulda
an
oh,
old one,
there'll be another
I
topic.
was I actually got really furious at him. I said, he called me. Like, why are you inserting yourself in this right now? I have a good relationship with both sets of clients, but in that moment, long story short, was like, this is why I don't do dual agency because now everything has just gotten extra weird and it's all worked out. Everybody is still really thrilled. But yeah, I mean, you're putting
Is that
yourself,
one about to close?
it's not closed yet. Yeah, it's closing soon.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
everybody's
Yeah.
happy. It's fine. It's just I'm putting myself in a predicament where I feel slightly uncomfortable, and it's great getting both sides, but for me, making sure people are happy at the end of the day is what drives my business. So, you
Right.
know, doesn't matter if you get both sides. If one or both people are unhappy at the end of the day, that's quantifiably that many less deals in the future.
Well, I mean, I don't think so necessarily. If you can't, in my opinion, you can't make everybody happy, first of all. But obviously, it's more comfortable for me if everybody's happy and everybody's happy with me. But the other day, I want to say this as vaguely as I can, but
One
I hope I
time,
have
one time,
both sides of a space for lease. And the landlord, how about that? And then the tenant,
what are we talking
they're
about? We've started over.
both sides. Both sides, physically present, landlord, tenant, me, repping the landlord, then ideally the tenant, who actually used to date my friend and met her at Camp Turner and probably like when we were 11 or something. And this guy came through and he wants to open a spot at this space. So anyway, they're all in a conversation. Anyway, the dynamic was pretty complicated because there was conflict between what the landlord had in mind, what the tenant wanted. They want all the space leased. The tenant wants to take it. The landlord is a little particular. And I'm just standing there as like, it's not like, just in terms of the role being to keep things moving, while there's a conflict of interest directly in front of you in the same room, just the perspectives are not matching. And then I'm just essentially like, okay, okay, we can figure it out. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Okay, we'll get it done. But kind of just being like the hype man. You know what I mean? Like a lot of it becomes that. I feel like when I'm working with people that just need a little extra hand-holding or maybe are a little cynical, but it just goes back to kinda trying to, like, navigate the appropriate way to meet, like, whatever the deal is with it is just business and to not take it personally and to kinda try to detach from the outcome, work within the best interest of your client, but know that, basically, like, I can guide you, I can be honest, I can bring you what you want, but then the rest is essentially up to you. Like, if you want to get the space filled, let's say, and I'm bringing you somebody for that, then there's always gonna be further conversation. There's always gonna be negotiation. So it's just like, let me help you, like just kind of keeping the dialogue open and how we can effectively get this done, even if it doesn't look like what maybe the seller or the buyer or the tenant or the landlord was anticipating from the jump. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it evolves
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a big psychological component that goes into this. Understanding everybody's perspective and then allowing them to feel heard and achieve their results within their perspective.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's a part of, I guess, being a realtor that they don't, I think, is the not glorious part. I don't know, people don't see
Yeah.
on the public end, or I think even before you get, somebody that, decide. First of all, I love the joke when people are like, I failed at everything else, so I'm gonna get into real estate.
Yeah.
Um,
Or like the last or the
this is my last effort at being a successful human.
at doing something.
Yeah. I mean, when I thought about being a realtor and what I imagined that looked like, I didn't imagine all the roles you needed to be
Mm-mm.
good at in this profession to be successful. Some of which you can delegate out, hire out.
You're really good with that.
Yes and no. I still have a hard time letting some components go because I'm so set in my ways on how
Yeah.
I've done them
Yeah.
or adapted over the years. But there's so many things that I think people don't see on the outside that are part of this industry. For example, like you get to make your own schedule. That must be so fun. Yeah, I get to be available 24/7 on vacations while I'm in labor.
Oh my god.
In the middle of my husband's birthday dinner. I mean, setting boundaries has come a long
Yeah.
way over the years, but really, if you wanna, keep that momentum and hustle and grind your grind, you gotta be available all the time. So really, having a flexible schedule means having no schedule at all whatsoever.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And I think too what you mentioned about just being in a position where learning over time for me were definitely boundaries and setting them, but like still waking up just in a panic. I'll not in a panic, I don't want to say, but like in anticipation that I've missed messages or emails, like upon awakening,
That's
basically.
phone addiction, though, I've realized. It's
Do
not
you
even
think it's
addiction.
phone addiction or me just being like,
No, I think it's the panic of when you're so busy and then all of a sudden when you're not busy, maybe a moment when you're waking up and you're like, yeah, I shouldn't be busy. I literally just opened my eyelids." It's this panic of what did I miss? And then you're
really? So
that's
you think that's because of the device and not the industry?
partially. It's both. It is both. I don't know. I just started rewatching The Social Dilemma and realizing like, yeah,
Mm.
your brain is used to those dopamine hits you get from consistently looking at emails or notifications, and now
Yeah,
that's why they say to shut off all your notifications, which would be a problem again. Um,
you don't do that at all?
I shut off a lot of them. Yeah, I don't have much on, but that doesn't mean I'm not getting dinged from a million directions. Cameras, my short-term rental, Airbnb notifications, obviously text messages, email. People using WhatsApp. Why are we using so many different apps to message? I don't know.
I have to turn them all off
Messenger
from 11 to a certain time in the morning when I'm, like, done
or
just starting the beginning of my day.
a boundary.
Right, so, like, a boundary and, active listening, kinda like we were talking about, just, like, learning how to listen over time, just I don't wanna say learning how to listen, but being more willing to be and I think through learned experience, learning how to just do like what you're talking about. Okay, these are the things that we can anticipate and expect potentially, not to be overwhelming or whatever, not to be negative, but just to be honest so that you are informed,
Yeah.
so that we're educated in this process and this experience. Um and just like thinking about just because maybe being sort of reflective because February was like my 10-year Annie of being an agent. So just kind of looking at the way that I operated, of course it was different. Um, and not wanting it to be experience that was going to be the thing that was really going to help me the most. I wanted to just be like, no, I will like stay faking it till I make it. And it will, and I mean, I'm not going to say that it wasn't helpful. Just to like try to stay in the mentality of, okay, if I keep trying, like business will come, because if we're talking about what it looks like to be in this industry.
Did, yeah.
It just can be discouraging when you are getting blown up maybe, you are working every day, holidays, your family's birthdays, you're leaving events early to go tend to whatever the client needs, and then at the same time, it's just like deals are falling apart, like closings aren't coming
It's
through.
resiliency.
It's just
That's on add
a
that to
little
the list.
pain, right.
Barbara Rockin?
Oh, I you say it.
Did I say your name right?
I don't know.
Why am I brain farting? Shark Tank Barbara?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, she said something a long time ago that always I remind myself of, I remind my team of, which is in order to be truly successful in this industry, her number one um tip is just like resiliency. Like you cannot let anything bother you for too long. Like you need
For too long,
emotionally
okay,
need
there's
to
a
be
catch.
withdrawn. Like have a moment, be upset about it if a deal falls through, if something big that you thought was gonna happen isn't happening anymore.
Mhm.
Um, bounce back. Like move on. You got
Very good
this.
point.
You just need to keep moving on. So yeah, the resiliency. The outfit changes get me. Like the amount of times I need to change my outfit every day to accommodate different clients. I mean, they say dress one step above, like know your client, mirror them, or
Mm.
dress one step above
Okay.
kind of what they are. Which these are all things like learned along the way. I was 22 when I got licensed, and I was consistently asked, "Where's your agent?" when I would show up at houses if
Oh,
the
yeah.
seller was there. "Where's your agent?" I'm like, "It's me. I'm here."
I can relate to that.
So age was a factor for a while. There's a lot of younger people in the industry now, and also I'm getting older. So
Me too.
I
We
don't
all
get
are.
asked that as much, but also if I am dressed down a little more casual, I like to wear branded
That's
t-shirts or
smart.
stuff like that where,
Mhm.
because if I have one showing on a Saturday, but I'm also gardening or running
Right.
around catching up on errands, like it's so much work to get like
Yes. No, I feel
dressed
ya.
up and you know what I mean? So like yeah, and your clients typically are not going to look at you and care what you're wearing. That's why there's all those memes out there about um what you look like the first day you show up with your clients versus like closing day, you look like a hobo. You really don't look like a hobo, but still you can be
I don't think you could look like a hobo even if you tried. Or
me.
yeah.
100% I could. You, however, fancy.
No, because I asked you what I should wear to my singular showing yesterday on Sunday.
And it
I
was
got all ready. I was mirroring my client.
yeah,
I drove to Hamburg
wrong way.
when at 5 when the appointment was at 5:30 in Lancaster.
That was good. You would actually
I
show up.
know. So at least I got to show up on time. And then there's something else that you said before that we were talking about that I wanted to touch on, but
Oh
I
yeah,
forget.
having ADHD
Industry.
in this
Yeah, but
industry.
wait. Something about um I'm trying to think. Expectations, something, whatever. And then this inspector yesterday was just like, okay. I walked up to show the mother that was there at this house. My clients love. They're making a smart move and they're getting an inspection done before the offer deadline. So they can waive it, but they can still be informed and educated and like um
Strategies for buyers to be
strategies,
successful.
but also just confident, and moving forward way over asking. So anyway, I'm walking with a mother to show her the house. And the inspector is talking to them about negotiating their offer. And I'm just like,
We just talked about
"What?"
this. You should not be involved in that.
Stop. And he kept touching on
Let
it.
me find out if
Kept
it's the
touching it
same
like
inspector.
15 times. And that's in his situation too. When I'm talking about when you have like both sides, you're in an environment, there's different
Was it
perspectives.
both
There's
sides
stuff.
on this one?
No.
Hmm.
But there's like stuff going on that it's like the alarm is kind of going off in your head, whatever. You get a little flush in the face. People are saying stuff that's just totally inaccurate or wrong or just like not helpful. But
That
I'm
one
just
should
like,
just be yes, exactly. Very common the situation. Let the moment pass and then have a constructive conversation
right,
afterwards.
which is what they want to do and which is what happened. And thankfully, I think like too, it's just interesting that the last couple days over the weekend, really, it's been all parties in one setting. And then just navigating that and like learning too with feedback that I get, just like going back to the emotional piece and like how we're not letting that dictate anything. I'm trying to just be here, be level headed, and be helpful,
It's so much
regardless.
easier in like commercial real estate where there's like less emotion
You'd think
involved.
that, but not really. There's human beings.
They're
And they're
sleeping
sometimes
beautifully.
they're attached to their buildings like it's their little baby.
It is a baby.
Right? So, it's not I feel like that's the idea, and that would be cool if it were just, like, simply numbers, and a lot of the time it is more that way, but has that always been the experience for you?
I noticed a big difference, and even when I was doing design work, the commercial clients versus the residential clients were faster to make decisions
Yeah.
and more about the numbers and the
Mhm.
return
Yeah.
versus, I need to make sure my pet has its own bedroom and closet or what, I don't know, like,
What I do miss is writing love letters because
I
when I was, like, so new, that was, like, my whole I don't know, that was, like, my
meditate.
niche, like, I could write a good letter
Same.
and win bids that were
Even if
under
under the highest.
FHA
Yeah.
to being like, "They will take care of your rose garden
Yeah.
forever."
I know. Way to
And
take
that
emotion out of decisions, New York. Thank you. Fair housing is important. Discrimination is an issue. But taking away the emotions from something like somebody's lived in a house 30 years and they want to sell to somebody who's going to have
well, I can
the
get
rose
where it
garden
gets
taken care of.
muddled, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it
Just
is.
annoying.
You can't say, oh, I wanted to sell to this family because they're going to have Thanksgiving dinners in the same place I did, but the single guy offered more. But who cares if you want to take less? Like, I don't know. I guess.
But what about when you're on the other side and you're presenting to your seller? Do you wanna read every single love letter?
Yeah.
You do?
I want
Oh,
this is
I don't.
well, if I have 20 offers, but if I have 20 offers, I probably underpriced it. So,
Mm.
having boundaries, having better boundaries over time, which again came with experience, came with
Mm.
age and overall growth,
Mhm.
has definitely, I would say, allowed my business and I'm sure your business to operate better because I think it's a reflection of us. But I mean, even down to like, after I used to tell people, you can text me at any time. If I'm sleeping, I'll just respond when I wake up.
Mhm.
If I'm awake and it's 2 a.m. and you text me, I'll respond. No, now I just leave it for the next day. I
Yeah.
don't tell them that. But I also think that they respect that because um they look at me as more of a um well put together business. I mean, we don't expect attorneys to even respond after. I mean, if we have good relationships, we can get in touch with
Mhm.
our attorneys after hours, but we don't expect certain industries, medical, law, right? These really big, important industries to just be available at all times. So setting boundaries, I think, makes us more respectable in our
It's a
business.
level of professionalism
Yeah, for sure.
versus the, let's see, past me, just, like, grasping for s not grasping for straws, but just, like, I need the business. Like, full-time real estate, like, this is the only way that I'm eating, like, I will answer everyone all the time. I will go drive to I remember it was the structure of a house, okay? And, like, maybe a field in, like, East Aurora or Orchard Park or something, and it was dark, and it was, like, a lead from realtor.com or something, and I go out there with a flashlight, and I just meet this random guy, and I'm just like, "God"
Emily.
I'm just like, "I know. Listen, I'm not commending it." If I went back into time, I'd be like, "Listen, ask him some more questions, like, vet the guy a little bit better or something." But, I mean, I guess it just speaks to recognizing through experience, through the process of what it does look like, and, like, the growing pain of kinda learning through, um, people that will run you around and take advantage of you. I was thinking about this
Yes.
one guy that,
The less
he
boundaries
just
you
came
have,
up
the more people will, like, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile type of thing.
so I had, a client like that who he wanted to invest in multifamily in Buffalo, and he would email me or text me really specific criteria that he wanted me to run comps on for him. And I don't remember if it was really late night or not, but it was just the expectations were really high and really specific. And then I wish I could remember it more clearly, but he essentially wanted to make sure I was really aware in the fact that he was very dissatisfied with my service to him. And then he like invited me to his office because he wanted to like sit me down and like let me know how unhappy he was with. all the hoops I was willing to jump through for this guy, um, just to be, I don't know, like, what the right word would be because it's not like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the right way to put it because it would really be like,
Inappropriate? What?
I don't know. Just people having, like, high expectations because you're not setting them up with, like,
Yeah.
realistic expectations from the
Yes.
beginning, because this is the way that it looks, this is what I can do for you, I can only really, like, do so much, I can provide you with exactly what you're asking for,
Yeah.
but it just was, like, a really conflicty kind of, I think, dynamic. I mean, it was, like,
Yeah,
a little bit
I
him.
had a moment like that too where I was mulching somebody's garden out front before listing and thinking, "Why am I doing this?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, setting boundaries. I mean, I'm probably appreciated but not respected as well.
No,
You know,
I feel like that's fair enough. It was just more, I don't know, this particular situation came up where it was, you know, do it, go ahead, and then, like, why don't you come on by so I can tell you all about, well, like, the way you didn't do it right or something. Which that's like one in, 100, really. Most of the time, I feel like, thankfully, my experience has been, and I feel like it's been the same for you. We wouldn't be sitting here all this time later if we didn't have a lot of amazing people that we've been able to work with that are glad that that was the experience,
right.
with and reciprocated just being satisfied with good reviews and the rest of it, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, Chaka. I always love sitting down with you and talking
Same.
about whatever comes to mind.
Can we do this again?
Can we do this again really
I
soon?
think if people can give us enough feedback to say, "I wanna know more."
And 2, I mean, that's always helpful to get input.
Yeah. What do you want?
How are we doing this? Thank you for sitting down with me today. You're my favorite. You are my favorite, I'm serious.
I'm sorry.
That's
Thank you.
good.
You're welcome.
Okay, cool.